Hey, everybody, this is Perch. Let's go through this mail, and I'm going to try and restrain interrupting the mail to respond or to try and get the whole thing, but I'll probably fail at that. It says no subject, okay, and there's no greeting either. This guy's just getting right to it. It says I have one big criticism in the industry as a whole. It's about moving on. I understand that you love these stories going on forever and being long running. It's great that they've lasted this long, but the industry seems to not want to move on. You and the rest of the older fans seem to want Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, X-Men in perpetuity. You want them in different variations and color schemes and not new interesting characters. It seems there's a want against older fans just to keep the train going in the service of the collection and then dumping the new in favor of the old. In other media industries, everything gets replaced. Innovation is part of the continuation of the industry. We aren't watching the old G.I. Joe cartoons. People are reading My Hero, not Naruto or Dragon Ball. I mean, I think they're still reading Naruto or Dragon Ball. We aren't still playing Doom 1 or 2. Even Call of Duty got replaced by Fortnite. The cycle of death and rebirth of the new killing the old seems to have eluded comics. All right, I'll pause here for a second. The mail is going to go on, but I restrain quite a bit. I think there's a bigger point to be made here around, what fans actually want and everything. And I'll raise my hand and say, I don't think fans simply want the same old stuff in service of their collection. I mean, if you look at popular sales jumps, you did have changes. Now, you might argue that, I don't know how significant those are, but like the X-Men was, for all intents and purposes, fully replaced multiple times. Same thing with the Avengers, same thing with the Justice League. Yeah, common characters came and went, but, there was very different takes on the team with brand new characters, different characters, all kinds of things. You could make an argument that Spider-Man getting the black costume was just a color change, but the black costume actually was a new character. And, they've been rewarded for that. Comic companies and fans will accept new. They accepted the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, I guess, or is that, I don't know if that's just a color variation kind of a story, but they've accepted some of those new things. And it's not like no new characters have broken through, but for what it's worth, a lot of them haven't. And is that the fault of the collectors or is that the fault of the comic? Putting it this way, if I take a, look at, Gwenpool, we'll just pick on Gwenpool. Actually, that's a terrible example because it's Gwen Stacy. So it's like that is a variant. But you look at some of these new characters that they've tried, and is the reason they haven't succeeded simply because older fans don't want to accept them because they're new or different? I don't think so. I really don't think that's the reason. If that was the case, books like Captain Marvel would be selling great because she is an old character. I don't think it's just, that old characters win and new characters lose. I think a lot of these new characters are kind of paper thin in how they're written and how they're created. They just don't have a lot of depth to them. Some do. I'm not speaking in absolutes here. I really enjoyed the Avengers Academy and Avengers the Initiative and, those titles that introduced a ton of new characters. But the companies seem to just lose interest all at once. And it's a bit baffling. I do need to do a sales report on Avengers Academy. It sold reasonably well. Like it wasn't a top comic, but new characters won't be. I mean, if you're shooting for something to come out and immediately be in the top 5, it's just very unlikely that you're going to get that. So putting something out and getting it in kind of the middle of the pack is a big win, and you build from there. But, Marvel had kind of medium sales that, quite frankly, would be in the top third quartile today for some of these books. And instead they went for fairly cheap gimmicks like the Avengers Hunger Games. What was that one? Avengers Undercover, Avengers Battle Royale. God, why is the name eluding me? Anyway, they just went for stuff and then they just stopped writing them. Part of getting a new character over is you got to keep going. If you want something, you can't throw out 6 issues and then give up on it and say, well, it didn't take. You do have to, put in the work to get fan loyalty. Uh, I, I don't think it's the older fans are like, nope, we just won't accept new characters. I do think older fans, collectors, they do want some of these characters to keep going. But I mean, look, I ran a store for a long time. I've had conversations with tons of people, and at no point did somebody say, you know what, I demand 6 different Peter Parker Spider-Man books a month. That's what I want. That's what I need. If you take one of those away, I'm gonna be pissed. I mean, in a lot of cases, all fans want is like one good Batman book, one good Spider-Man book, one good X-Men book. Yeah, it's a continuation of that story. I do still maintain people come and go in those books, but they're putting out, like, Marvel's putting out like 70 books plus a month. 70. And the legacy characters make up the minority of that amount. And I'm sorry, unless you start counting like the multiple titles of things, but would anybody listening here be upset if Marvel pulled back on the Spider-Man books they're putting out every month to 2 and gave that shelf space, gave that publishing dollar to some brand new characters and said, you know what, fuck it. We're committing to 24 months. We're going to put a real effort into this new character to get them over. It worked to some extent with Miss Marvel. They put that new character out. They kept trucking along. It worked. And then they botched the character, but I don't think, there was a sign there that showed that fans were accepting it. What they weren't accepting is bizarre left turns in the character, shoving that character into events for no apparent reason. I still maintain the, what is Mark Waid Champions book. They wrote, like Miss Marvel in her own title was kind of shy, learning her powers. That was the charm. Hiding it from her parents, trying to, figure it out. That was the whole magic of the comic. And it was good. And then she goes and she joins the Avengers, and she's kind of portrayed as kind of a doofus by Wade, who was writing it. G. Willow Wilson wrote her solo series. And then they go over to Champions, and she turns into kind of a bitch, where she's like, I'm taking control. I'm a leader now. It's like, what are you doing? Like, the heart and the soul and the charm of this character is gone. That's the kind of stuff that blows new characters, is they have no identity. You have to put in the work, and you have to be consistent. But I mean, look, I'll put it this way. I'm not clamoring for, was it 12 From the Ashes X books right now? Jesus Christ, no. I mean, one good one would be great. That's all we need. And I don't think that, that's the way the industry should evolve. Give one title for the legacy characters, put one title out with a new character, commit to them, and try it out. They won't all work. Anyway, back to the mail. It says, would it be so bad to stop making Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman books and just go all in on something new? Well, yeah, it would. The money would fall out. Like, comic shops would stop carrying comics. Literally, if you stop making the comics I just listed, you dropped 25 to 30% out of the revenue. And yeah, it is about making money. Like, you can't, like, if you have to get the new audience first, you do have to, like, hook, customers on the new characters. You can't just cancel them. You can peel back. Quite frankly, I've speculated for a long time that if you went down to 2 Spider-Man books, say, those 2 books would have a 20% jump in sales. I think the heavy amount of titles going out is dilutive. Now, they're still making more in aggregate, but I don't think it's a good publishing strategy. I think DC has the exact same thing going on with Batman. Anyway. The mail. Something to breathe through life. I know the indies exist, but I'm talking about big stage stuff, not off Broadway. Okay, that's a good analogy. Maybe these people shouldn't be writing Batman, but should be asked to create new big blockbuster books. Maybe not even connected to the universe. Imagine Jeff's new universe with the Warner Brothers DC marketing push. I can't imagine it. It's Ghost Machine. It does need the marketing push, but that's Jeff Johns is doing exactly what you say. And the problem is, a lot of comic stores don't even carry it. because there's zero buzz. So, what do we do there? And those books are great. Easily, hands down, my favorite label right now, my favorite company is Ghost Machine. It's not close. Like, they're putting out really good books I enjoy reading, art that's amazing. I think they're great. They're all branded characters, and they're not selling. So what do we do? If you went further in on that strategy, comic stores would stop carrying comics, just bluntly. So there has to be a plan. It says it's not just the companies either. The fans never clamor for new characters. They just want a new Batman statue to put on their shelf. I mean, the posers who are on YouTube do, sure. Of course, the young kids are pirating. What connection should they have with these old, decrepit grandpa properties? Yeah, except if you look at the stuff that's pirated and you look at the hit count, it's, guess what? Same stuff. I mean, they're not pirating the, B and C and brand new characters. They're pirating Batman. I mean, that's just what's happened. It's a nice idea to think media properties can be propped up by 40-year-olds. Not really. But it's always the kids and teens and 20-year-olds buying the latest games and watching the newest movies. The kids love new. They love something that feels like it's for them. If they're discovering new ground, new untouched land their parents didn't know existed. My dad already showed me Batman. I want something new. My hero? It's why Liefeld was so popular. The old style was well old and new was exciting. I mean, but if that's true, then why aren't all these new books, why aren't they landing? Why isn't anybody paying any fucking attention to any of them? I mean, we've seen with Marvel very, very clearly. You have a brand new Iron Fist. You put in a new Hulk. You have these completely new characters. So again, you might say, well, yeah, but it's still the Hulk. It may be a new body in that Hulk. But okay, well then, unfortunately, the track record is even worse for completely new characters. So from kids couldn't care less. So how do you get them? It's a problem. We the young don't want to have hand-me-downs. Oh, now you're we the young. Okay, well, I see where it's going here. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Give us something else. Right now, the biggest thing is Ultimate Spider-Man. Again, and Scott Snyder on Batman. Again, the discourse is about a marriage that was dissolved a decade ago and 6-decade-old character. Yeah, but they're selling. That's why the discourse is there. End Discord. Are we trapped in Groundhog Day, forced to relive the same boring existence forever and ever until the old die out and the young forget these little pamphlets existed? Yeah, I got an argument once with another YouTuber about the use of the word pamphlet for comics. I still think it's demeaning, and it's meant to just kind of, it's snobbery. I don't know. People want to shit on comics, but come on. Anyway, remember when these were a thing? I'm at the mail. Innovation is growth, and if you're not growing, you're dying an agonizingly slow death. I mean, yeah, innovation is a thing. I agree. It's not just new characters. It's new mediums where the books are getting sold. And quite frankly, if you're going to reach kids, it's a hell of a lot more about where the kids go to find the comics and the characters inside the comics. You can make any character in any situation new with good writing. Honestly, you can. The magic of comics is that the actors don't age. So you can put Spider-Man in brand new things, new. You make that character as new as your imagination can make it. Putting, a new body in there or just having a new character, if the stuff seems boring, old, and repetitive, is it the fault of the character or is it the fault of the writer who's writing a boring, old, repetitive story? The blame is frankly on the, not the creation, but it's what they're doing with that creation. It says, P.S. The goofy X-Men stuff comes from that weird Warren Ellis book. It's the Patient Zero. Stop blaming Morrison and Whedon. The big bad villain in that book is a literal T-Rex. That book ruined villains forever. Also, Statics, but that would fit right in with Krakoa X-Men. So what you're referencing there, what this person is referencing, is that I say that, Grant Morrison kind of kicked off this new era of X-Men. And this isn't necessarily my opinion as much as it's what I hear directly from writers today. If you listen to interviews, almost to a person, they all credit the Grant Morrison run as being the most influential in their writing style in Krakoa. I do agree the Ellis stuff, you're talking about astonishing. I believe, his run there. I mean, it was ass. I didn't like it. I thought it was pretty crappy. A lot of the Ellis books around that time period in the X universe were. I think there's like you go back and read some of those titles today. They are hot garbage. Uh, I'm sorry, they absolutely are. But a lot of writers seem to begin their knowledge of the X-Men at Whedon and Morrison and Whedon. That's where that's a starting point to their understanding of the X-Men. And I don't like that. I think, if you're going to write the X-Men, if you're going to try and do something new, then you need a full scope of the series, where you could take it and do creative things. But if you basically write off the entire run and just say I'm starting with Morrison, I mean you're writing off like 40 years of history, and that's a lot. You could do a lot with that, But anyway, to the mail in general, I mean, no, you're only as trapped as you want to be. Look, a good writer can breathe fresh, new life into a series and a character almost instantly. We see it all the time. You could create a new character, and comic companies do, but nobody reads them. So whose fault is that? I mean, it it is. Look, all I say is a balance is what's needed. Truly, comic companies do need to be inventing and creating new IP, new characters, new adventures. They absolutely do. They must. They also should take great care of their older characters, saying, hey, we can't get new characters to be popular, so we're just going to cancel all the old characters that people are buying, and that will force them to buy the new characters. No, they won't buy anything. That's what will happen. It's not comic books, unlike games, and to some extent even movies. People want to play games, and they bought a brand new console. They want to play games on it, and so they will buy the what looks like the best game out there. And I guarantee you, there's tons of people out there who would desperately love another Mortal Kombat sequel and another Call of Duty sequel and another Uncharted game. And somebody's out there wanting Last of Us 3, where the girl gets uglier. I don't know. But there's people would love that. But the studios don't put them out quickly, and sometimes don't put them out at all. And so people buy what they can. They buy what's available. Comics are not like that. There is no console that people feel they have to buy games for. There's just, it's just comics. They're wonderful and magical, but there's no addiction or hook to come back for them, minus the collectors. So if you had people who are, captive audiences who just love comics, and there are some, but not, unfortunately, not many, who just absolutely love comics, adore comics, want more comics, all about comics. And so if they go to the store and there's no Batman, no Superman, DC stop making them, they're going to still pick up 2 comics because they just need comics. Yeah, there aren't many people like that. That's not what the comic industry is like. With games, people will go to buy a game and say, well, there is no, Spider-Man 4 or, whatever whatever AAA title is at the time. They didn't make it. I guess I'm buying nothing. No, they'll go and they'll hunt around and be like, well, I guess I'm buying this Horizon Dawn thing. I mean, Christ, talk about a girl getting uglier from series to series. But I mean, that's what they're gonna do. So there's your challenge. Anyway, thanks for listening.